you have the time to listen to me grind. Take down the film watchers and nerds.
Boom, there's a camera. Hey, I plan to get on this weekend. Well, this is my weekend, okay? It's a Monday for you all. I wanted to make a video about Kerryon Johnson. Not a hot take, not a, make sure you get Kerryon Johnson on your teams kind of a thing. Just, I didn't kind of agree with some of the personal analysis that was coming out about him. But then Leonard Fournette gets dropped, of course, because the Jaguars are a mean franchise. They tried to hurt him as hard as they could, I guess. I don't know. That's what it looks like. So, instead, it's a general RB takes, I guess. Quick video. Like, all right, let me do my Kerryon Johnson thing, please, because it's been in my head for a while. Two news articles or two reports from camp came out recently. One, with Kerryon Johnson saying literally he's been watching, what's his name, DeAndre Swift on the field, and I think the quote was something literally like, I just can't move like that. I can't move my feet like that. That's not how I play, so I don't intend to learn from DeAndre Swift because I can't play like that. I play like me, and I don't do the fancy feet, fast speed, twitch movement stuff. He said it in a normal human way, to be fair. And the second one was something like Kerryon Johnson saying, I am my knee brace, basically. Me and the knee brace are one. I practice with it, I work with it. This is just part of my life now, and I'm accepting it. And generally, he's the backup running back getting most of the shade, right? Like, Kerryon Johnson's bad, which is weird, because he's been better than the backup running back now due, we expect, to be replaced by a good running back that's been drafted pretty highly. But it made me love him. Like, I was never a big Kerryon guy, but, like, he seriously came close to owning me last season with how he was performing before he got injured. Like, I did not see that kind of ceiling. He was, like, running back 13. I thought it was more, running back 13 to 24. He was on the upper end. So I'm claiming the victory, but still, I was like, wow, I'm pretty impressed with what Kerryon Johnson did there. So that's what my mindset was. And then I saw these two news articles. And so the first one, I was like, wow, that seems really down to earth. That seems honest. That's not a answer to a reporter's question that you normally hear. That's not code team approved, right? The same stuff you see coming out of a different person's mouth. Like, that's him actually talking. So one, I respected the fact, because we got more players actually just honestly talking, we'd have a lot more to say, or a lot more trust, I think, in what they said. Like, if they said they were part of a committee, if they said they were intending to get 2,000 yards, if you could trust that they were honestly talking. But I know relatively little, and this might surprise you, or not at all, about actual players. Like, I try to I don't want to know personal information about them, because I'm not talking about them as people, or really as players. I'm talking about them as fantasy assets. That's why I don't tag them. Same philosophies. Like, I don't know, they're amazing players to be in the NFL, and that's what I know about them personally. And from there we rank according to our silly little game that's got nothing to do with them. I mean, doesn't mean they're good or bad if they're good or bad in fantasy, in my mind. So, we use those words, good and bad, all the time, and I don't know, for me it's important to keep a separation from the fantasy asset to the person, because I don't know anything about I don't want to for that reason. But there are a few players that creep up and you just end up knowing a lot about. Larry Fitzgerald is one. I know a lot about Kenny Stills, and I love all of it. I think he's an amazing human being. David Johnson, for different reasons. One, I'm a big fan anyway as a football player, but I think he's a really great person. Like, I think I would honestly enjoy meeting him, and I know so little about other players. And honestly, that's just during the last off-season, when everyone was starting the rap career or getting in legal trouble. David Johnson literally just crept onto my timeline. Someone retweeted it. It was a picture of like one of those measuring tapes with like a little laser. It's like a cheap thing from like a Dollar General or something somewhere. And it was his Father's Day gift. And he was just bragging about his Father's Day gift. And I was like, in the middle of all the off-season woes we were having running back, it's just a guy vacationing with his wife, just having a fantastic time, having one of his first Father's Day. I was like, that's just pretty awesome, man. Really down to earth and regular kind of guy. And maybe they all are. Like I say, I know relatively little about every player in the NFL, and I intentionally try not to. But David Johnson just honestly seemed to be like a really cool guy, because of that off season where his tweets were entering my mentions. And now I know a little bit about Kerryon Johnson, or I think I do. Remember, I still don't know any of these guys. Nor should I. Nor do I need to, right? I shouldn't. I don't think we should imagine we have any connection or knowledge of these people, right? We don't. We're talking about fantasy. These people could be awesome. They could be the worst. Who knows? I like to assume the best, right? But still. But anyway, now what I think I know about Kerryon Johnson is, one, practical, down-to-earth, honest, and says what's on his mind. I like all of those things. He watches his DeAndre Swift and just honestly reflects and goes, I can't play like that. I'm not gonna stunt. I'm not gonna pretend and say, wow, that's terrible, or the way I play is better, or I can do that. Instead, he's just going to look at it and practically go, it's just something I can't do. Got to concentrate on my game. I kind of love that attitude, right? Is that not a great attitude that you want in a player? I'm just going to work. That's not what I do. I'm just going to work hard at what I do. And the second one, the knee brace thing, I get the jokes because it was kind of hilarious from a fantasy perspective, one with the knee brace and stuff. But, like, he's accepted a limitation and he's working on it, and he's become comfortable with the knowledge, and he's just working his game around it, right? He's just accepted this is part of who I am. It keeps me safer. Like, I love that too. That, again, kind of showed a down-to-earth, practical, hard work, a grinder mentality. Not that he's a grinder running back necessarily. That's grinder as in, just hard working. He's going to put in the work. I kind of love both of those things. So I don't know why, and honestly, that's just narrative and personal things that I'm reading from two quotes, frankly, about a person I don't know. But it honestly made me like him more. Like, I've loved Marlon Mack for a while. Marlon Murr once triggered me by Bobby Koch and Zach Reed, and I spent a whole last season like having that war. Not really, because they weren't saying he was a bad player. I just said he had top 24 upside. I was really impressed with his college production, and that came true. But as most times that stuff happens, people want to envision a higher ceiling, which I never really saw for Mac. But Kerryon Johnson's had a higher ceiling than Mac. So I like Kerryon Johnson better anyway, if healthy, obviously, with his knee brace and stuff. Like, Kerryon Johnson's got an ability to grow a bigger role, be more efficient with it. So on and so forth, and co-opted target share that year as well. So, like, I don't know if there's a fantasy take in there, but suddenly for the first time, I'm like, if we're making a bet on one of these running backs that were the starter and now are set to perhaps be the backup, it's kind of Kerryon Johnson for me now. It's not Marlon Mack, who have been failing because people envision a higher ADP, higher potential finish for a while now, but I still love the player. So, yeah, there's that guy. Cam Akers has got Darrell Henderson, which is his own kind of difficult debate. But, like, I love Darrell Henderson all the way up to where we rocketed his ADP into the first round on expectation. I get the bet. It's the same bet this year as Keyshawn Vaughn. Like, you got to take upside bets on running backs. I get it. If that's the way you structure your team, you have to take those bets in the first round. I get it. And we still haven't seen enough of him to know, but the first year wasn't overly promising. And Cam Akers has done everything up to this point in his career. He hasn't played in the NFL yet, that you love. So, yeah, Kerryon Johnson over Darrell Henderson, it's a little more difficult because Darrell Henderson is a mystery and Kerryon Johnson is an injury concern behind a great running back. But Kerryon Johnson seems to me like he's the cheapest of the bunch as well. And it doesn't make sense from the ceiling that he's shown, the ability that he's shown, and those two concerning news stories from this offseason actually made me like him as a person. So, yay, Kerryon Johnson. Okay, now the news, the running back takes that are taking, is Leonard Fournette was just cut by the Jaguars. First off, I am embarrassed and ashamed of my community, the way everyone has now put out a tweet saying, well, yeah, obviously, I saw that. No, you didn't. All the tweets I'm seeing, or links, or podcast clips, are proving that they had an opinion that he was a bad pick. They didn't say he was definitely going to be cut. They didn't say he was definitely going to be cut this late. And they didn't cut him from their teams to add, one of the backups a few weeks ago if they couldn't get a trade, which, would have been the move if you were perfectly certain. I dislike the way we retroactively fit what we felt into our takes from the past. Like, lots of people were low on him. Evan Silver has been preaching this for a while. I had him as running back 22. I just checked. I've moved him down a couple spots, obviously. But running back 22 feels low compared to consensus anyway. I wasn't taking him over Gurley, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, but I saw him in that tier. I recently recorded with Stepmom Lauren, where we basically said the same thing. And also Blake Hampton, but we nixed that episode because he wants to record it again tomorrow. He didn't say things the way he wanted to say them, apparently. But we basically got into that conversation where we're like, yeah, we're fine with him. We're kind of the few people standing in the middle on the you either love or hate Leonard Fournette. But I definitely didn't see him being cut this late at all, because I didn't think a team would ever hurt a player that way intentionally, which seems to be what they've done. Obvious that the team wanted to get rid of him, yeah, but I think we'd mostly all accepted that it just wasn't going to happen because they hadn't got a trade done. If someone saw that coming and they've got a tweet, or great, but like, what did you do with it? Because he didn't make it noisy enough that I even heard someone saying, for sure, trade Leonard Fournette now. They're either cutting him or like, and I am on Twitter constantly. So I'm sure some people thought it, felt it, but the certainty with which we're representing that take right now, it's fucking embarrassing. Like, back up. Like, don't lie to people who are like, man, why didn't I see it coming? Because no one did. We knew it was a possibility, but we'd pretty much, it seemed by consensus, accepted that the team was just going to have to keep him and kill him with carries instead of trading him, right? But anyway, and also all the people like saying he's a bad player. Like, and I've followed a few and I've read a few articles, I've watched the clips. Mostly they're talking about him being a bad pick, not a bad player. And again, he's a certain type of running back. He's not the type we aim for specifically. We want more of a receiving floor. Anthony Amico is definitely owning me. I just say that because that's the fun word I use. But he was definitely pointing out to me and everyone else very recently that, you know, Chris Thompson was going to hurt his receiving workload. And I accepted it because he had a good point. But I still thought he could get the volume to be a top 12 running back because he's done that twice without that receiving workload. But, you know, I, again, wasn't taking him over David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, because they've proven to have that receiving workload and weren't on, they're on better teams, frankly, and teams that didn't hate them. But honestly, again, everyone's reminding everyone that I said the team hated him right now, and I probably honestly forgot. Yeah, I knew we had that take, and we knew that Leonard Fournette and the Jaguars had issues, but where I avoid narratives and coach speak and reading into situations so much, I probably honestly forgot that when I was making ranks and put him as running back 22 recently or whatever. So yeah, I can't even claim, oh, I had that on the brain to tell everyone to fade him. So yeah, I should have been lower on Leonard Fournette than I was. My ranks displayed that. But when I was on my podcast and doing videos, I never really made a case against it because I couldn't see one. His volume was decent, even if it dropped. Top 12 ceiling, he's shown that twice. So, yeah, I guess I wish I'd been lower in the sense that I would like to get everything right, but I don't think there was a lot there to say, you know, it's definitely terrible. And, you know, the best argument for it is obviously Evan Silver, and he made great points, obviously. But again, that was more about how he was a bad pick in the 4th round, which not how he's a bad player or he's done badly. Like, he made a great joke about how he's a bad player, but none of his arguments were talking about, you know, how he doesn't do this or he doesn't do that or he can't do this. It was more about as a pick, as a prospect this season, which again, I wish I'd known to hammer that hard, but not being as foresightful as Evan Silver is not something, again, I'm worried about. Like, that's fine. I already accept myself as below that level. So, to get out of here quick, I wanted to show you a few quick updates. I'm working on projections right now. This is the Jaguars. I've just let Gardner Minshew fall a little bit. He was up in the early 20s, but when I took Leonard Fournette out, basically that receiving workload and also the projected team attempts from first downs to passing attempts drops, and I just kind of let that stand right now. I'm going to see if it pisses off anyone, particularly player profiler, if they have a better quarterback take than me. Mostly this is just a function of the players for me, so I don't do a lot of quarterback evaluation. But essentially what I did is I did a split. I kept Chris Thompson's role exactly what I had done. I don't know Leonard Fournette leaving greatly changes his expectation, although his role is even more cemented as if it wasn't before. He's got like 16% of carries and a really significant target threshold, right? Yeah, like 12% of the targets. What am I looking for here? Rushing attempts. Basically, I did a split between Raquel Armstrong and Divine Azigbo. And then I've actually I made some room for James Robinson to get some significant touches. He's going to come out low in projections because Armstead and Azigbo are the ones who, project the median projection to be a decent committee, with 30 to 35% of the carries going to one or the other. And I left around 24% of them for James Robinson. So essentially what I'm saying is I'm just seeing a committee, not an extra player I want to hype up or target. I will say the thing that I often miss is distribution value is what I said, where one or both of them might have games where they're incredibly important starters, especially for DFS or stretches, if you can predict which one's going to be first, which I guess would be Armstead. Azigbo is probably the target, because if Armstead flags a little bit, then Azigbo gets a few more touches, and that's where his stretch of distribution value comes in. But if I'm going to make a play in Dynasty, it's James Robinson, I guess, until the team... But remember, the team may well still make moves, add someone, not add someone. In general, I think a bad offense that was running through the running back, losing or getting rid of that running back just hurts the team. There's going to be less first downs, there's going to be less plays. Yes, there'll be probably be a ratio change in pass to rush attempts, but there's going to be less overall attempts because the team's going to suck harder. They just lost... Apparently, everyone now knows Leonard Fournette was a bad player, but he was doing a lot of volume for that team, at least, rolling up first downs and keeping the ball moving sometimes, at least, if nothing else. And I think those go away, which means while there'll be a higher pass ratio, there'll be overall less attempts, less trips to the red zone. I think it's bad for everyone. I think it's bad for Chark. I think it's bad for Laviska Shenault entering his first year. I think it's bad for D.D. Westbrook, Keelan Cole, Chris Conley, and everyone on the depth chart. I think it's bad. I think it's bad for Gardner Minshew. Now, is it a good idea to get cheaper pieces on a bad team because there might be some good value there? Yes, but that value, I think, is going to start to evaporate if it hasn't already over the next week, because people are going to up it because they're going to hear much more passing attempts. And now Chark has no competition for touchdowns in the red zone or various other takes, or Minshew can do nothing but throw now. But he's going to be maybe even throwing less than he would have with Leonard Fournette on the team. Weirdly, pass ratio, yes, more attempts. I don't see a team that can make up for the production Leonard Fournette, no matter what kind of player you think he is now, did last year, which for me sees lower team volume in general. But yes, if their values are steady right now, yeah, sure, it's a good thing to add to its tick box of Chark, or Tyler Eifert low as a tight end streamer. James Robinson is a really late running back flyer in a year that's really keeps shaking up increasingly as a heavy target running back slate kind of year. See, I said it a different way because I know the other way of saying it's kind of triggering. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Those are my initial thoughts. Those are my initial adjustments for the projections, which will be heading to player profiler pretty soon, and then we'll probably get adjusted as someone brings me back to sanity. And no, Minshew's going to be a top 15 quarterback now or something. Anyway, hope it's interesting, hope it's useful. If not, I hope the scrolly wheel thing was maybe, I don't know. I'm getting out of here, thanks very much, and let's keep taking on those running back takes, I guess. Thanks, bye.
Do you have the time to listen to me?